Love is hard when you're young.
You don't have to tell me.
Don't worry, it gets better. Now come with me.
When Avatar Roku died, he promised his influence would extend beyond death to stop Sozin's legacy, but a curious symbol appearing throughout the series hints at how he accomplished this, through bloodlines that would shape the future. The connection between Roku and later characters runs deeper than many realize. Zuko's mother Ursa came from a small village near Roku's homeland, and the show creators deliberately kept her family history vague. I've collected all the clues scattered throughout the series that prove Zuko is the direct descendant of Avatar Roku, and when you see them all together, the evidence is overwhelming. Let's go back to some of the most dramatic moments in Avatar history. Remember that volcanic eruption that took Avatar Roku's life? His final conversation with Fire Lord Sozin wasn't just a falling out between old friends, but actually contained clues about a secret plan Roku had already set in motion. When we watch that scene again with careful attention, there's something odd about Roku's confidence despite facing death. He tells Sozin, "Even with my dying breath, my influence will continue," but we're never explicitly told how he planned to maintain this influence after death. This vagueness seems intentional on the writer's part. During Roku's final moments, as ash falls around him, the camera lingers on telling visual cues, family portraits, heirlooms, and a medallion bearing a symbol later seen in Ursa's village. Despite his impending doom, his gaze remains intense, his voice unwavering. These weren't random shots, but deliberate breadcrumbs planted for attentive viewers. Roku's exact wording reveals something fascinating. When he says, "The seeds I've planted will grow in ways you cannot imagine," he likely refers to his bloodline, descendants who would someday intertwine with the royal family. This seed metaphor reappears when Roku's spirit guides Aang, suggesting a connection the show never fully explains but consistently hints at. Tracking the Fire Nation's royal genealogy alongside Roku's family timeline reveals that Aslan's search for a bride for his son coincides precisely with when Roku's descendants would have reached marrying age. The royal archives contain suspicious gaps during this period, as if someone deliberately concealed certain family connections. Throughout the series, camera work creates visual echoes between Roku and Zuko beyond normal character parallels. In the Winter Solstice episodes, they appear in mirrored poses and angles, creating a subconscious connection. Their firebending stances share distinctive elements not seen with other firebenders, including Ozai and Azula. Most compelling is how the show connects Roku's homeland to Ursa's origins. The architecture, background flora, and local customs in both locations share striking similarities. When Zuko searches for his mother, he's drawn to regions that once fell under Roku's protection, as if guided by an invisible connection. Those invisible connections guiding Zuko extend far beyond mere coincidence, because the show deliberately hides something crucial about Ursa's village. Have you ever wondered why a series that meticulously maps its world suddenly becomes vague when showing where Zuko's mother came from? This geographic mystery is potentially the biggest clue hiding in plain sight. Consider how the show creators painstakingly detailed every element of their world, from the elaborate canal systems of the Northern Water Tribe to the precise layout of Ba Sing Se's rings, only to completely obscure the exact location of Ursa's hometown. The Fire Nation map marks even tiny fishing villages, but conveniently leaves this significant location unnamed. And when we look at the Search comics, the descriptions are frustratingly vague. Along the southeastern peninsula, which happens to be where historical records place Roku's homeland. Fire Nation scrolls in the Dragonbone catacombs have entire sections about villages from that area removed or redacted, as if the royal archivists who maintained meticulous records of every other settlement somehow forgot about this particular village where Ozai's wife originated from. Stepping into Hira is like walking into a forgotten time capsule with distinctive peaked roof designs, circular window patterns, and door frame carvings virtually identical to those seen in flashbacks of Roku's residence. Architectural traditions that disappeared from mainstream Fire Nation culture after Sozin's rise to power. This forgotten chapter of Fire Nation history stands preserved like ancient text on a hidden scroll, untouched by the imposing angular designs that dominated the era. The village elders' reactions to Zuko reveal something equally telling. Their behavior goes beyond expected respect for royalty as they observe him with knowing glances and whispers. Some even even touch specific spiritual emblems when he passes, with one elder commenting, "The blood shows through in this one," before being silenced. These villagers recognize something in Zuko that transcends his status as Fire Lord. They see markers of a lineage they've protected in secret for generations. When Ursa performs in the village theater, she specializes in playing ancient spiritual figures, including the Avatar's Bride, a traditional play about a woman marrying into spiritual power. Her family preserves ceremonial fire-making techniques predating Sozin's regime that mirror those depicted in ancient Sun Warrior murals, suggesting her family maintains spiritual firebending traditions passed down through Roku's descendants. While those distinctive architectural elements at Ursa's home reveal a physical connection to Roku's heritage, what's even more striking is how Zuko himself seems to possess spiritual abilities that can't be explained by his royal upbringing. Have you noticed how Zuko demonstrates strange connections to the spirit world that completely contradict his Fire Nation royal training? Other Fire Nation royals view spiritual sites as conquest opportunities, yet Zuko experiences physical sensations and visions that leave him visibly affected, almost as if something inside him instinctively resonates with spiritual energy in ways only someone with an Avatar's bloodline could explain. Zuko's spiritual sensitivity manifests like an ember waiting to ignite, growing stronger as his journey progresses. During his meditation practices, he connects with fire's life-giving properties and instinctively adopts postures identical to those in ancient Avatar temples without being taught them. While Fire Nation royals meditate to focus aggression, Zuko's approach resembles Avatar techniques, suggesting an inherited spiritual awareness from Roku. This dormant connection strengthened when Zuko visited the Spirit Oasis at the North Pole. He experienced a strange pulling sensation and heard voices that seemed familiar yet distant, while other soldiers felt nothing. During solstices and full moons, when the veil between worlds thins, these sensations intensified. Whispers became clearer, accompanied by faint blue glows that only Zuko could see. At the Western Air Temple, while Team Avatar noticed nothing unusual, Zuko sensed presences that left him trembling. Toph even remarked, "Your heartbeat is going crazy, but I don't sense anyone else here." Most revealing was Zuko's encounter with the ancient firebending masters Ran and Shaw. The Sun Warriors were astonished by Zuko's natural connection to the original fire, with their chief observing, "Your fire burned unusually bright for someone raised under Ozai's corrupted teachings." The dragon's flames swirled around him with peculiar intensity, responding to something deep within his spirit. Even his mastery of lightning redirection, a technique Iroh developed from waterbending, came with surprising ease. The energetic pathways seemed intuitively familiar to Zuko, as if his body somehow remembered them, while Azula, despite her talents, never attempted this spiritually connected technique. These abilities emerged during his banishment, completely disconnected from Fire Nation spiritual training, suggesting they flow from Roku's bloodline rather than royal education. Beyond Zuko's spiritual sensitivity lies something even more revealing that's been hiding in plain sight all along. When you place Zuko and Roku side by side, their physical resemblance becomes striking. Their shared distinctive jawline, eye shape, and facial structure tell the story of their connection without a single word of dialogue. The animation team deliberately embedded these visual clues throughout the series, creating a genetic echo spanning generations that becomes increasingly pronounced after Zuko joins Team Avatar, almost as if his true heritage visually emerges the further he moves from his father's influence. Remember those flashbacks of young Roku in The Avatar and the Fire Lord? When you compare them with scenes of Zuko during his early training sessions, they appear like reflections across time. Both characters mirror each other in profile and expression during moments of determination. This visual heritage extends to their body language too. When Roku confronts Sozin in the throne room, his stance, hand positioning, and shoulder set perfectly match how Zuko confronts Ozai during the Day of Black Sun. Despite neither character learning these mannerisms from each other, their bending styles reveal this connection even further. As Zuko's journey progresses, his firebending gradually shifts from the aggressive, forceful technique promoted under Ozai's regime toward more fluid, circular movements that bear striking resemblance to Roku's bending style. Both uniquely incorporate slight pauses before powerful strikes and share a distinctive follow-through motion absent in other firebenders' techniques. Their shared micro-expressions speak volumes. The same subtle tightening around the eyes when concerned, identical eyebrow furrows during concentration, and most tellingly, the same half smile when contemplating difficult choices. When Zuko sits before the War Council in the final episodes, his thoughtful expression perfectly mirrors Roku's contemplative moments in the spirit world, visually bridging the decades between them. Even in communication, they unknowingly share patterns. Despite vastly different life experiences, both men employ similar rhetorical structures, frequently beginning statements with personal observations before broadening to universal principles, a pattern evident when Roku explains balance to Aang and when Zuko explains honor to his crew. Those shared speaking patterns become even more significant when we consider what's truly driving Zuko's legendary internal struggle. But wait, what if his constant battle between good and evil wasn't psychological but biological, the direct result of having both Sozin's tyrannical blood and Roku's compassionate spirit flowing through his veins? This would explain why his journey toward redemption was so much more complicated and painful than anyone else's in the entire series. Throughout the show, we witness Zuko experiencing inner torment that goes beyond normal teenage angst or royal expectations. During his fever dreams in Ba Sing Se, his body physically reacts as though two different forces are battling within him at a cellular level. His body temperature fluctuates wildly, and he hallucinates dragons and voices pulling him in opposing directions. It's like watching a storm where two powerful weather systems collide, not just metaphorically, but literally inside his very being, with Sozin's ambition and Roku's wisdom creating turbulence in his blood. Uncle Iroh's special attention to Zuko reveals deeper understanding of this biological struggle. Have you noticed how Iroh always seems to know exactly when Zuko is struggling with his inner nature? Iroh's statements about destiny and choices were carefully chosen words from someone who understood the literal battle of bloodlines taking place within his nephew. When Iroh tells Zuko, "You must look within yourself to save yourself from your other self," he's acknowledging the dual heritage that defines Zuko's very existence. The timing of Zuko's transformation points aligns with celestial and spiritual events in a progression that can't be coincidence. His moral crises happen during solstices and full moons, when the boundary between the spirit world and physical world grows thin, strengthening his connection to his Avatar ancestor. His betrayal of Iroh occurs during a planetary alignment, while his decision to join Team Avatar happens during the Comet Week when firebending connections are heightened. Even more telling are Zuko's recurring nightmares featuring elements he couldn't possibly know about. Volcanic landscapes mirroring Roku's final moments, voices speaking in ancient dialects, and visions of dragons in formations matching historical Avatar ceremonies. During his banishment, Zuko would wake up gasping about fire that doesn't burn, exactly how witnesses described Roku's protective bending during village evacuations decades before Zuko was born. Those haunting dreams about ancient fire ceremonies weren't just random nightmares. They were echoes of a century-old promise finally reaching fulfillment. When Zuko stood before his father during the Day of Black Sun and declared he would join the Avatar, was he making this choice entirely of his own free will, or was he fulfilling the destiny Roku had set in motion generations earlier? Zuko's redemption carries cosmic significance beyond personal growth. When he confronted Ozai, declaring, "I'm going to join the Avatar and help him defeat you," that moment created ripples through time, connecting directly to Roku's final stand against Sozin. The eclipse timing represented the perfect cosmic alignment when Roku's influence could assert itself through his bloodline, guiding Zuko's hand as he made the choice that would change history. His coronation ceremony revealed deeper connections when Zuko channeled language that mirrored Roku's teachings. Palace historians documented phrases unused since Roku's era, like his call for harmony that transcends national boundaries and balance that honors all elements equally. These weren't political platitudes, but Roku's wisdom resurfacing through his descendant. Zuko embodied the perfect balance his ancestors lacked. Sozin had ambition without compassion, while Roku possessed wisdom without political savvy. Court records show Zuko navigated international disputes with intuitive understanding that surprised even his closest advisors. The Sun Warrior chief later confided to Aang he moved as if guided by memories beyond his years, after witnessing Zuko perform ceremonial gestures that hadn't been practiced for generations. Even Team Avatar sensed this connection. During their mission to confront her mother's killer, Katara described feeling an inexplicable familiarity with Zuko. This wasn't mere character development, but spiritual recognition. Aang's friends subconsciously sensed Roku's essence within the prince. His diplomatic abilities matched Roku's approach so closely that an Earth Kingdom diplomat wrote, "Meeting with Fire Lord Zuko felt strangely like communing with an avatar. There was wisdom beyond his years in his eyes." So we've traced the hidden threads connecting Zuko to Avatar Roku through his mother Ursa, and what we found changes everything about how we understand Zuko's journey. He embodies the ultimate balance in the Avatar world, not just a villain who found redemption, but the living manifestation of both Sozin's tyrannical legacy and Roku's compassionate spirit. This revelation transforms our understanding of his path. But what other secrets might be hiding in the Avatar universe? Could Toph's extraordinary earthbending or Katara's unusually powerful abilities have ancient origins we never explored? Share your theories in the comments. The world of Avatar might be more deeply connected than any of us have realized.